Welcome back to Plus One channel. Deeds must be an execution of words. Do you get the exact meaning? Yes, we must always practice what we preach. We also wanted to keep our words positive because our words becomes our behavior. Now watch one video.
Hello friends, how are you? Today, I would like to show a great story of Mahatma Gandhi to all of you.
Wow, popcorn is so tasty. Hey Raj, don't eat too much of junk food. No mommy, I like it so much. Please don't eat my head, please listen to me. No mommy, okay I will stop it if Mahatma Gandhi say not to eat junk food. Okay, then tomorrow let's go to meet Gandhi.
Next day morning.
Hello Ronnie, how are you? Why did you come? Mahatma, my son have a bad habit. What is that? He is eating lot of junk food. So, how can I help you? I said to him, not to eat junk food. But he said, I will stop it, if Mahatma says to stop it. Okay, send your son to meet me tomorrow. Okay.
Next day.
Wow, this is so tasty, I like it so much. Hey Raj, go and meet Mahatma tomorrow. Okay mom.
First day.
Hello sir, good morning. Hey Raj, good morning. Oh ho Raj, come tomorrow. Okay sir.
Second day.
Hello sir, good morning. Oh Raj, please come tomorrow. Okay sir.
Third day.
Good morning sir. Oh Raj, please come tomorrow. Okay sir.
Fourth day.
Hello sir, how are you? Fine Raj, how are you? Fine sir. Okay Raj. Why are you eating too much of junk food? Do you know that it is a bad habit? So please don't eat that, okay? Okay sir, I will not eat from today onwards. But I have one doubt sir, can I ask you? Okay Raj, what is that? Sir, if you said it on first day, I would left that habit on that day itself. But why did you take these 3 days? I may say, but I cannot. Because I have that habit too, so how can I say? To get rid of that habit, it took these 3 days. Wow, you are so great sir. Because, even though many people have such habits, they won't control themselves, but say to others to control, but you are not like them sir. Thank you sir.
Yes, welcome back. Mahatma Gandhi, the father of our nation, was true to his words and his deeds. Now watch another video with your textbooks.
Again, Jawaharlal Nehru writes about the timely arrival of Gandhiji to Indian politics. Again, how Gandhiji removed darkness from Indian politics. Now we are moving on to Unit 2, Words and Deeds. These 4 lines said by Mahatma Gandhi. Keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive because your words become your behavior. And now we can read essay written by Jawaharlal Nehru about Gandhiji. The title is And Then Gandhi Came. Now start reading. World War First ended at last, and the peace, instead of bringing us relief and progress, brought us repressive legislation and martial law in the Punjab. A bitter sense of humiliation and a passionate anger filled our people. We had become a derelict nation. Yet, what could we do? How to change this vicious process? We seemed to be helpless in the grip of some all-powerful monster. Our limbs were paralyzed, our minds deadened. Large numbers of people cut off from the land and incapable of any kind of manual or technical work joined the swelling army of unemployed and helpless, hopeless, sank ever deeper into the morass. They did not know where to look. therefore neither the old nor the new offered them any hope. What could we do? How could we pull India out of this quagmire of poverty and defeatism? Not for a few years of excitement and agony and suspense, but for long generation our people had offered their blood and toil, tears and sweat, and this process had eaten its way deep into the body and soul of India, poisoning every aspect of our life. And then Gandhi came. He was like a powerful current of fresh air that made us stretch ourselves and take deep breath, like a beam of light that pierced the darkness, and removed the scales from our eyes, like a whirlwind that upset many things, but most of all the working of people's mind. He did not descend from the top. He seemed to emerge from the millions of India speaking their language. Get off the backs of these peasants and workers, he told us. All of you who live by their exploitation, get rid of the system that produces this poverty and misery. Political freedom took a new shape then and acquired a new content. Much that he said we only partially accepted or sometimes did not accept at all. But all this was secondary. The essence of his teaching was fearlessness and truth, and action allied to this, always keeping the welfare of the masses in view. And underline, the essence of his teaching was fearlessness and truth. The greatest gift for an individual or a nation, so we had been told in our ancient books, was abhaya, that is fearlessness, not merely bodily courage but the absence of fear from the mind. The dominant impulse in India under British rule was that of fear. Pervasive, oppressing, strangling fear, fear of the army, the police, the widespread secret service, fear of the official class, fear of laws meant to suppress and of prison, fear of the landlord's agent, fear of the moneylender, fear of unemployment and starvation, which were always on the threshold. It was against this all pervading fear that Gandhiji's quiet and determined voice was raised. Be not afraid. Was it so simple as all that? Not quite. And yet, fear builds its phantoms which are more fearsome than reality itself. And reality, when calmly analyzed and its consequences willingly accepted, loses much of its terror. There was a psychological reaction also, a feeling of shame at our long submission to an alien rule that had degraded and humiliated us, and a desire to submit no longer. Whatever the consequences might be, we did not grow much more truthful perhaps than we had been previously, but Gandhi was always there as a symbol of uncompromising truth to pull us up and shame us into truth. What is truth? I do not know for certain, and perhaps our truths are relative and absolute truth is beyond. Different persons may and do take different views of truth, and each individual is powerfully influenced by his own background, training, and impulses. So also Gandhi. But truth is, at least for an individual, what he himself feels and knows to be true. According to this definition, I do not know of any person who holds to truth as Gandhi does. That is a dangerous quality in a politician, for he speaks out his mind and even lets the public see its changing faces. Gandhi influenced millions of people in India in varying degrees. Some changed the whole texture of their lives, others were only partially affected, or the effect wore off, and yet not quite, for some part of it could not be wholly shaken off. Different people reacted differently, and each will give his own answer to this question. His call of action was twofold. There was, of course, the action involved in challenging and resisting foreign rule. Underline it. There was also the action which led us to fight against our own social evils. Underline it. Apart from the fundamental objective of the Congress, the freedom of India, and the method of peaceful action, the principal planks of the Congress were national unity, which involved the solution of the minority problems and raising of the depressed classes, and the ending of the curse of untouchability. Realizing that the main props of British rule were fear, prestige, the cooperation of the people, and certain classes whose vested interests were centered in British rule, Gandhi attacked these foundations. Titles were to be given up, and though the title holders responded to this only in small measure, the popular respect for this British given title disappeared. New standards and values were set up, and the pomp and splendor of viceregal court and the princess suddenly appeared extremely, supremely ridiculous. Rich men were not so anxious to flaunt their riches, outwardly at least. Many of them adopted simpler ways, and in their dress became almost indistinguishable from humbler flock. He sent us to the villages, and the countryside hummed with activity of innumerable messengers of the new gospel of action. The peasant was shaken up, and he began to emerge from his shell. The effect on us was different, but equally far-reaching, for we saw for the first time, as it were, the villager in the intimacy of his mud hut, with the stark shadow of hunger always pursuing him. We learned our Indian economics more from these visits than from books and learned discourses. The emotional experience we had already undergone was emphasized and confirmed, and henceforward there could be no going back for us to our old life or our old standards. What was the idea of India which he was setting out to mold according to his own wishes and ideals? I shall work for an India in which the poorest shall feel that it is their country, in whose making they have an effective voice. An India in which there shall be no high class and low class of people. An India in which all communities shall live in perfect harmony. There can be no room in such an India for the curse of untouchability or the curse of intoxicating drinks and drugs. Women will enjoy the same right as men. This is the India of my dreams. Proud of his Hindu inheritance as he was, he tried to give to Hinduism a kind of universal attire and included all religion within the fold of truth. He refused to narrow his cultural inheritance. Indian culture, he wrote, is neither Hindu, Islamic, nor any other holy. It's a fusion of all. Again he said, I want the culture of all lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible, but I refuse to be blown off my feet by any. I refuse to live in other people's houses as an interloper, a beggar, or a slave. Influenced by modern thought currents, he never let go of his roots too and clung to them tenaciously. It is not surprising that this astonishingly vital man, full of self-confidence and an unusual kind of power, standing for equality and freedom for each individual, fascinated the masses of India and attracted them like a magnet. He seemed to them to link up the past with the future and to make the dismal present appear just as a stepping stone to that future of life and hope. Thus he effected a vast psychological revolution not only among those who followed his lead but also among his opponents and those many neutrals who could not make up their minds what to think and what to do. So this essay is an excerpt from Jawaharlal Nehru's The Discovery of India.
Now be familiar with these difficult words. The first one, morass. Second one, phantom. The third one, repressive. The fourth one, strangle. The fifth one, interlock. Now, activity time. Take page number 45 and complete this passage. And page number 46, prepare a speech. Next and final one, page number 47, learn the format of letter writing. So, see you all on next class. class, and please share this video to whom you think are in need of it. Thank you.